Hey guys, Wade here. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink is saying that this current crisis is a perfect catalyst for cryptocurrency adoption. Well, we knew that, but his particular reason as to why it's very interesting. That's what we're going to break down in this video, guys. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, especially if you're holding Vechain. I hold Vechain. It was one of my first bags when I got into crypto. It was actually one of the first bags I made pretty decent money from. So that is the asset that I learned the potential of making money in crypto with. So we like Vechain over here at DHN, and we also like news like this. So BlackRock's Larry Fink, their CEO, largest asset manager in the world, by the way. If you ever hear the term, the word, the name, the company, the corporation, the entity, the immovable, I'm sorry, WrestleMania was yesterday, but BlackRock, asset manager, the largest in the world, trillions of dollars in assets under management. So whenever they say something, whenever this man comes and speaks, need to be listened to. But he says on Thursday that the Russian-Ukraine war could help accelerate digital currencies as a tool to settle international transactions, as the conflict upends the globalization drive of the last 3 decades. Okay, nothing that comes out of this man's mouth is lightweight by any means. All right, now, in a letter to the shareholders of the world's largest asset manager, Fink said that the war will push countries to reassess currency dependencies. Basically, it's going to make them reevaluate their connections to their fiat currency and bring forth more digital dollar conversations, which we are seeing play out. Let's see here. And that BlackRock was studying digital currencies and stablecoins due to increased client interest. So if BlackRock is studying digital currencies and stablecoins because of their clients, their clientele, everybody got $1 billion. Okay. So when BlackRock talks like this, when they present us with information like this, it means that the super wealthy, despite what they may say publicly, are involved in cryptocurrency. Okay. Now, he is quoted as stating in this letter to his shareholders, a global digital payment system thoughtfully designed can enhance the settlement of international transactions while reducing the risk of money laundering and corruption. That appeared to strike a different tone from May of last year, when Fink raised some concerns around volatility and said it was too early to determine whether cryptocurrencies were just a speculative trading tool. We have come a long way since May of 2021. Okay. And that particular line, that was just an overlay for the underlay, because we also learned that last year that BlackRock took out a a very particular SEC filing centered around the environment, green energy, and the tokenization of carbon assets. Okay, that's very key there. And it's had a lot to do with Energy Web. Got that video on the channel, might want to check that out too. But now, continuing, the letter on Thursday, the chairman and CEO of the 10 trillion asset manager said the Russia-Ukraine crisis had put an end to the globalization forces at work over the past 30 years. What is he talking about? What globalization forces? I mean, I knew I wasn't crazy when I was telling you guys last year that we are seeing the results of a globalization narrative. You know, it's the reason why I jumped into this whole game with a global adoption, global perspective. Still the same, because that's the game we're playing. But I find it weird that he said that it upended the globalization process. So that highlights a few things, guys. Maybe this Russia-Ukraine situation was not planned for the time that it kicked off. You know, we won't go too far into that, not in this particular video, but it's his wording, guys. It's his wording. Now, this next one, coming from that letter too, might make you upset, but here we are. Access to global capital markets was a privilege and not a right. This would explain why BlackRock had suspended the purchase of any Russian securities in its active index portfolios following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. He continues to say that over the past few weeks, I've spoken to countless stakeholders, including our clients and employees, who are all looking to understand what could be done to prevent capital from being deployed to Russia. We believe this is the definition of our fiduciary duty, Fink said. BlackRock's total client exposure to Russia had declined less than 1 billion earlier this month to 18 billion. Well, it went from 18 billion to 1 billion. So they removed about $17 billion in assets from Russia, basically is what they're saying, leading shortly after the invasion of Ukraine. Now, this was followed by the Western sanctions and the closure of the Russian stock market. Now, and notice how this says they removed 17 billion from them, and then the sanctions came in. Okay, it's just the order of operations here that just needs to be called into question. But he ends this, and this is my favorite part because it all brings us back to that energy narrative, Agenda 2030, where we're all reaching for here. Wow, companies and consumers' balance sheets are strong today, giving them more of a cushion to weather these difficulties. A large-scale reorientation of supply chains will inherently be inflationary. He said central banks are dealing with a dilemma that they had not faced in decades, having to choose between living with high inflation or slowing economic activity to contain price pressures. Energy prices have jumped as sanctions on Moscow prompted companies and countries to reassess supply chains and try to reduce dependency on Russian commodities. Energy security has joined the energy transition as a top global priority. Now, this is coming from BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. But what does this have to do with Vechain? Well, it all comes into play in that last paragraph, guys. We have been seeing a massive attack on the supply chain in the last year. Really since the situation broke out a couple years ago, right? Got to be careful how you call what you call that on YouTube. They're very particular about that now. But the supply chain was under attack right around the time that all of this happened. Then we enter the crisis with Ukraine, okay? And the first pieces of stories that come out of that situation is how it is directly affecting food supply lines, okay? Ever since I got into the market, it's been Vechain as the leader of supply chain technology. Most importantly, food traceability. Okay, did you forget about that? I hope you didn't, because Vechain also has a stable coin that launched earlier this year, partnered with Stably, and they are beginning to circulate it. Right now, if you go back to the report, courtesy of Vechain's Medium, their blog site, they specifically talk about how this VUSD will be used to tokenize different forms of assets, and food traceability programs and carbon credit programs were included in those many use cases for the VUSD. All right, which will be verified in the United States, by the way, because one of their custodial partners is located here in the United States. I believe it's Prime Trust. So Prime Trust is connected with a number of exchanges here in the United States. Now, why am I saying that Larry Fink has just endorsed Vechain? Well, admittedly, a little bit of a clickbait, but those things, it's to bring you in so I can give you the real story. He's not necessarily endorsing Vechain directly, but with him emphasizing the issues with the supply chain, it should draw your attention to what Vechain is doing in the supply chain sector when it comes to food traceability. At the same time, global food prices are spiking, the supply chain is faltering, and Vechain is providing the only solution. Right now, a lot of people get on Vechain, talk about it's a slow project. It's may not even be a real project. You know what I'm saying? The development doesn't take time. It's been quiet for so long, right? Those people don't understand how technology develops over time and how certain things have to arrive in order for the the value of a particular asset to truly be seen based on how it's used. Okay. We have been seeing in an accelerated fashion food supply chain issues, logistics, so forth and so on, and the climate. We are not hearing these things for no reasons, guys. Okay. So that's why I made this video for you, for the Vechain holders. So that way you can get a glimpse of how things are slowly starting to move into position for Vechain. If I had to go out on a limb here and say that, yeah, Vechain might end this year close to $1 just based off of usage. Something that we wanted to see last year, but the problem had not yet arisen for Vechain solution. That problem is now here. Okay, problem is now here. Now, I will attach the link to the VUSD video, probably have that float up either on this side or on this side. But I would highly advise you guys to check that out, get your information on the VUSD stablecoin. Okay, so that way we can stay on track with these steps, because this stuff keeps moving, guys. It's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. But that's why I love being here and helping get this knowledge out there, spreading the word, right? So with all that being said, a Vechain documentary would be very cool. Would be very cool. Not many people know about the origins of Vechain. Anyway, like I said, guys, that's what I got for you in this particular video. Don't forget to check out this one about Vechain stablecoin. It's got some juicy information in it. And as always, you know, I'm going to tell you, have a great day. Have a prosperous day. And most importantly, if that money is digital, so is the hustle. I got my slogans mixed. All right, I'm gone.